Hello, friends. It's Nancy from Astrology and Angel Mediums today with another little Ducks That I Love series. I'm going to call this my OG Hay House deck collection. So all of these decks here that I'm going to talk about, these are all decks that were published by Hay House several years ago. Some maybe even like 10 years old. And I'm going to talk a little bit about why I still have some of these decks, even if they're not ones that like I routinely reach for. I just wanted to kind of share about these decks because they've been decks that have either been in my collection for many, many years, or decks that like I just really have like a kinship with. And yes, there's so many newer, more relevant, more modern decks. Some of these are going to look a little old school, and that's okay. I'm going to start with the last two of the Doreen Virtue decks that I actually have in my collection. Now, I have a bunch of them put up. If you don't know about Doreen Virtue, she was really big way back in like the early aughts, I guess, and the 2010s in the like spiritual space. She turned coat not too long ago, and now she has basically deemed all of her previous work as demonic and this and that, the other. But I do have a lot of her angel decks. They were some of the first decks I really connected to that were oracle decks. I really love this Archangel Gabriel deck. I love working with Archangel Gabriel and Archangel Michael. Out of the Archangel decks of hers, this is the one that I kind of resonate the most with. I like the art. It is a little bit of like that kind of classical art vibe. And I just like the beautiful imagery. It's very like affirmation kind of type of deck, which is really nice if you are someone that maybe struggles a little bit with some oracle deck messages. This is nice to have something like this that's very simple and you can kind of vibe off of, if that makes sense, and kind of use that to help guide you in your reading. So that is a reason why I've kept this deck over the years. And it's one of my children's names. So that's another reason why I have this deck. Another deck that I have of hers is the Mary Queen of Angels deck. If you've looked at my other videos where I talk about some decks that I love the Alana Fairchild decks. On the Mother Mary Oracle that she has, but this is also a good one because, again, very similar to this Archangel deck, where it's more of like an affirmative sort of message that comes through. And so this is why I still kept these. I'm still using them, though very seldom in my practice, because I don't really resonate with her personal message and how she made millions of dollars and then decided that was not it for her any longer. So as you can see, I have some other kind of angel decks too. I used to have most of the Kyle Gray angel and, Ascended Masters and things like that, and other like decks that he's put out. These are the two that I really, really love. And so this is why I've kept these. As you can see, mine are kind of like scratched up. I've had them for years and years and years. So this is a little bit more of a modern kind of artistic choice. And there it goes. I was like, it's not wanting to come out. And so the artwork is a little bit more artistic, modern art, if that makes sense, more so than like the classical kind of angelic images that Doreen tended to use in her decks. So it's a little bit more of a newer version of those kind of decks, but very similar. It has like a message and then a little bit of like an affirmation to it. And the angel guide is also very similar in that way, with more of like a modernized artwork to kind of go along with the deck. So again, very similar artwork. I don't know if he uses the same artists for a lot of his decks, but I've noticed that there is kind of that theme where all of the decks have very similar artwork, which is nice if you are someone that collects, certain decks or whatever. So those are two that I've still kept over the years. I have kind of passed along some of the other decks of his that I had just because I wasn't using them and it weren't decks that I really reach for too often. Another deck that I've had for many, many moons is the Sonia Choquette Ask Your Guides deck. This is very old school. It's not the most modern kind of art, very simplistic, but something that I have enjoyed as I really like the messages that she has included in this deck. And so it is one that I tend to kind of reach for. And sorry, these are all upside down. And I'm sure if I turn it around, the next one's going to be like not. So a lot of the messages are really nice and really helpful whenever you're wanting to kind of connect to your spirit guides or wanting to just kind of have a little bit of a different energy that's a little bit more simplistic. So that is why I still have this Ask Your Guides deck, even though it's not one that is like highly popular. I love the Earth Magic deck from Stephen D. Farmer. Again, it's not the most like new kind of vibe, but something about the artwork and the messages just really speaks to me. And it is a deck that I still to this day really reach for. And really like to kind of utilize in my own, practice or with my clients. It's just really beautiful. And it is something that I feel very connected to and feel that it's very easy to read with. That's, I think, the biggest reason why I've kept a lot of these decks is that these are decks that I feel like I can easily use. As you can tell, I have a lot of John Holland decks. I've talked about these two, I think, in my tarot deck, like reviews or something. But we'll talk about those in a second. I know a lot of people know who Colette Baron Reid is. I do have quite a few of her decks, but this Enchanted Map Oracle that I bought so many moons ago, like you can tell the box is super faded. I think she's even rebranded this deck to make it look a little bit different. It's just one of these decks that no matter what, I just love reaching for it. Something about the whimsical artwork, I don't know, there's just something about it that I just feel is so unique, and it was so different from any of the other decks that I was using that I really have enjoyed it. And it has really interesting messages, really beautiful and interesting imagery that was just so different from anything I saw at the time without it really being like collage art. So if you like something a little bit more whimsical, but not too on like the fairy kind of element, I think the Enchanted Map Oracle, this older version is great. I don't know what the newer one is. So if you're like buying a newer version, it looks different, I'm sorry. I'm just telling you from the older version, it's one of my favorites and it's why I've kept it in my collection over the years. And now for the John Holland decks. The Psychic Tarot is one of these decks that I've had. This is actually the second version of this deck that I've had. My version went to a friend of mine and I passed it along because this is actually the copy from my best friend. And so I wanted to keep her deck after she had passed and get rid of my version. So mine was in really bad shape. It was like peeling, like the cards were all cracked. And as you can tell, I haven't really used her version just because I didn't want to mess this version up, if that makes sense. I know it's just paper. But the artwork with this, again, there's something that's very powerful. And if you're someone that has maybe struggled with understanding the concepts of tarot and maybe you want something a little bit more approachable, these are the tarot cards, so to speak. It's a 65 card deck. So it's missing all of the tens and it's missing all of the court cards. And in place, there are chakra cards. So while it isn't exactly a like copy and paste tarot deck, this is a great deck to help you understand the lessons from tarot. So here is disruption, which this is the Tower card. Here we have transformation, which this is the Death card. Here we have fertility, which this is the Empress. Here we have mental conflict, which this is the Two of Swords. So it kind of helps you understand the significant energies for each of the tarot cards. And it is one of the decks that I always recommend to people, especially if maybe you're making the transition from Oracle to Tarot. This is a really nice kind of bridge in between those two decks. I'm sure that there's probably a newer version of this. I don't really keep up with too much of that. I kind of just buy and get what feels like will work in my practice and like what I use and what I like. Now, next to that, he also put out the Psychic Tarot for the Heart. So this one's more like what I call like a relationship deck. It's more relationship based kind of stuff. So here we have like Share the Love, which this is the Three of Cups. And again, it's very similar format to this one, 65 cards. But then we have like Control. This is the Strength card. We have Nurture. This is going to be the Empress. We have Giving and Receiving, which is Six of Pentacles. Healing Begins. This is the Six of Swords. So it can really help you understand the lessons of tarot and how it applies to relationships and connections. So I highly recommend both of these decks for someone that maybe is, again, kind of transitioning from Oracle decks and wanting to learn tarot, but maybe struggles and feels like they have to memorize all of the card meanings. These are really good ones that still allow you that flexibility that Oracle cards can come with. And then finally, out of the OG Hay House decks that I have that I really wanted to talk about, I have other ones, but these are like the ones that I'm like, yeah, is this other deck from John Holland again. And this is going to be the Spirit Messages Spirit Messages Oracle deck. I was gonna say the guidebook, but these are beautiful. And these are great as like standalone cards to use, especially if you're someone that reads for clients. I think that this is a great deck. There is beautiful messages. The guidebook has a lot of explanations as well. There's some really great inclusions in here. And the artwork to me is just really striking. It's very powerful. It really, I don't know. I mean, I think it still kind of stands the test of time when I look at the different artwork here and kind of the different messages. I think it's really relevant to things that we have going on. And it's wonderful for those of us that like to maybe interpret our own meaning from certain things. So things like this, like Hello from Heaven, A Mother's Love. We have like Serenity. We have, Stay Connected. There's some really beautiful, like clarifying messages, especially if you're someone that is a medium or, wants to connect a little bit more to those that have passed on. This is a wonderful deck to have in your collection. So these are, again, kind of my little OG Hay House collection of cards that I think are great for anyone that maybe sees these older decks and maybe says, oh, I would much rather have like a newer deck. These are great. I wouldn't pass up on these if you see them around or if you have them in your collection. Maybe dust them off a little bit and start using them again. They're wonderful decks. And I've gotten many, many years of use out of them. And again, I usually recommend these decks for people that are maybe starting out or are looking for something a little bit that maybe a little bit more grounded in the cards and the messages that can kind of help them understand how to do readings. So let me know, do you guys like some of these OG, like I'm calling them old OG original gangster, I guess, Hay House decks? Do you guys know who Doreen Virtue is? What do you guys think of that? I have a whole blog about it on my website that I wrote many, many moons ago. and kind of explaining my whole relationship. And, well, not that I ever had a personal relationship with Doreen Virtue, but kind of like what she meant to me throughout my spiritual kind of journey and what I've been going through. But thanks for joining me. I hope you guys take it easy. Have a good one. Stay safe. And as always, make good choices. Bye.